everywhere. Every sport's going crazy. I don't know what to expect. Like, it's FISE.
The crowd is absolutely ecstatic to watch you ride, and the whole atmosphere is absolutely unreal. So much fun.
It's so very special because you don't see that anywhere else except for at FISE.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the FISE World Series 2017. Thank you so much for joining us. It is day number 4, and a big one it is. Look at that massive audience. We are live here. Thank you very much to our title sponsors, Honor and Montpellier Mediterranean Metropole. Thank you so much for joining us here. It is the SFR Sport BMX Spine Pro Finals. This is where all the action is happening. There's thousands of spectators right down there in the square ready to get the thing going. Spine is going off. This is a very, very special anniversary for us. It is the 20th anniversary of the FISE here in Montpellier. I am Ryan Meyer. I am going to be walking you through most of the action here at FISE, and thankfully I am joined for BMX by none other than Daryl now. Daryl, thanks for joining, man.
Ryan, I got to say, it's a big honor to be here, to be one of the fans that are in the house with our hundreds of thousands that come out here is such a great thing. And the fact that we have our BMX event ahead of us, our Spine Final, this is the big show.
This is exactly what so many of these BMX fans are waiting for. We did a ton of stuff. We've gone all the way around the world as well last year on a world tour for the BMX, but this is where we're at right now, starting things off in Montpellier, moving right over to the new stop of Budapest, Hungary. This is going to be August 16th to 19th. Please mark that on your agenda. If you want to make it out and see the riders and you're close to Hungary, this is going to be an absolutely phenomenal event. Canada in the middle of September, and then finishing it off, of course, like we usually do, Chengdu, China, at the start of November, the first weekend. Please mark those dates down. Remember, Budapest, Edmonton, and Chengdu, these are stops you do not want to miss. If you are anywhere in the globe and you've been watching FISE for the 20 years that it's been happening in France, this is your time that you can have the FISE actually in front of you. You can have the most amazing amateur and professional athletes come join right where you are, and you can come join the action as well. That's a beautiful thing with the FISE, is that you can be an amateur athlete. You can go out, register online, and have your chance to qualify with the other riders. Talk about what that means for such a contest like this, like the Spine event, Daryl.
Well, it's so important to have all different elements of BMX represented, not only the amateur but the professional. But what we're actually seeing here is we take a look at our battlefield of our BMX Spine. What you also get is a huge fan base coming together for BMX. This event we do every year, and the fact that we keep our ramp at a consistent standard, that difference, the variable, is the level of riding. And usually every year we see the level of riding just pushed up, up, and up. But as we take a moment to just look at this beautiful backdrop here in downtown Montpellier, we can see that we have perfect weather right here. 22 degrees Celsius, the wind is very minimal, crystal clear skies. But the important thing to note is just the thousands of fans that are just ushering in as we speak.
Talk about the format now. Let's look at how the riders are going to be judged as they're getting through this field.
Well, we have 16 riders. We had over 60 in qualifying, and we wound up breaking it down where they're going to have 2 runs each. 60 seconds are going to be on the clock. It is an overall impression. And then we are going to be throwing down a best trick, which is actually going to be a separate competition that's not going to be judged with their overall impression out on the course. So again, 16 riders, 4 heats of 4 riders apiece, 2 runs with 60 seconds per rider. Overall impression, meaning both runs count. And then we're going to do a separate best trick. The thing to note in our best trick, if a rider takes more than the allotted 3 times, it's then just going to be for you at home and for all the crowd as well. They're going to have 3 times to make it count.
We got that format on lock, Daryl, now, but it takes a lot of skill and a lot of time around the actual sport discipline itself. Who are the 5 judges who are going to be taking
So we're
care?
taking a look. We have Senad Grosik from Austria, who's the first ever Red Bull athlete for BMX. We have Poki, better known as Igor Vukadinovic from Croatia. We also have the legend Van Homan, who is a street pioneer. We have from France the dirt trails rider Bibi, and then we also have professional judge Hank, aka Dave Cleworth, who are going to be out there calling all of the actions. We're taking a look at our judges up there. You can see Van Homan in his maroon fit hat. We have Igor next to him. Bibi is rocking the Hawaiian colors up there, setting the mood. So they're going to have the bird's eye view up on the eagle perch. Now let's talk a little bit about what our judges are going to be looking for on this course. The riders are going to have 60 seconds to throw down as many tricks as possible in that allotted time. So the judges want to see difficulty of tricks. They want to see uniqueness of what the riders are throwing as opposed to any other rider out on the course. But they definitely want to see style. Now, Ryan, you and I have talked about that in the past, where 2 riders can do a similar trick, i.e. a 360, but one rider could totally dip out the front end. Maybe another rider throws a tabletop in there, or maybe even a third rider throws a tail whip. And it'll be basically 3 different tricks, but you could give it your own Midas touch and your own degree of style.
We had a massive round of qualifications or semifinals yesterday, let's say. There was almost 90-something riders out there in the field. Let's weed it down to the top 3. We had in third place Ben Wallace. Let's take a look at some of Wallace's riding out here. A lot of phenomenal link-ups here in the mini park. It's completely different than riding the park course, let's say.
I felt that Ben Wallace's riding really stood on his own because he definitely put some technical lip tricks together where he was utilizing his pegs on the coping, like his over 270 ice pick and back. Another rider that came in one of the top positions, second to be exact, was Colton Walker.
Colton Walker had some solid amplitude coming over that spine. As you can see, he also had a lot of linked up tricks that worked very well, but the man on top, he was first place in the park semi-finals this afternoon, and as well he was first place in the spine ramp. That shows something for his riding ability. This is none other than the Brisbane boy Logan Martin. He's our last year 2017 FISE World Series BMX Park champion, and as well he's standing on top on both the disciplines of BMX out here this weekend.
So you're taking a look at Logan Martin. He had those flare whips, also some flips over the spine that helped him finish in that top spot. So an interesting thing to note out here, though, is that we definitely have a battle royale going down. In 2016, Logan Martin was our top spine champion, Daniel Dhers in second, Marc Webb in third, Pat Casey in fourth, and in fifth, the Russian Kostya Andreev.
Something that is really interesting for me to mention, I mean, you just talked about Kostya Andreev. Look at the rider list that you have in front of you. There is no Kostya Andreev on the list. He did not make the semifinals yesterday. He was not able to make it through. And we talk about the top highlights, the top 3, Logan Martin, Colton Walker, Ben Wallace. But as you go down the list, there was something very memorable for me to note. It's all the way down in 13th position. That's where Brian Fox ended up coming out with that 1080. That was one of the coolest tricks that we saw all night. It was so ecstatic that the crowd got totally behind him. It was a very amazing moment for the semifinals. It would be great to take a look back and see exactly what that 1080 was all about.
Yeah, that 1080 was very impressive by Brian Fox. Also, just want to take note for a moment. Todd Main actually threw down a 1080 a few years prior, but it wasn't in a competition. I believe it was in Greenville, North Carolina, when he was visiting with Daniel Dhers and some of the other riders out there. But Brian Fox throwing down that 1080, 3 rotations over the spine. I'm very excited to see Brian Fox being one of the top 16 that qualified for our finals. He's having a great time out here, really playing off the energy of the crowd, and I can't wait to see what he brings.
So here's Brian Fox from last night, getting the crowd amped up. Look at our hosts out there. The crowd is absolutely amazing. Check out as he comes back over this spine.
Now look at Brian. He blocks, loads, and fires 3 rotations, but look how his body is actually more than vertical. He's leaning over to get that rotation around. He is absolutely psyched. That is not an easy trick to pull off. In his first run, he did a 720. Up the ante. Brian loves FISE every year, and he always wants to put on the best show for the crowd. And the fact that he threw down that 3 rotation spin over the spine, unbelievable, Brian.
It's absolutely unbelievable. But hey, there are so many spectators in the crowd. I know you guys have to have your smartphones out. You have to be linked in on social media. So make sure you tune in for all the action here at the FISE. The FISE has every instant content that you want. Go to their Facebook page. We have live streaming. We have the Facebook live feed going. This showcases a lot of different techniques that you will not see necessarily in the TV programs. They will have live viewing going down into the spine. You'll be able to interact very heavily with the riders. As well, go down to social media for the Instagram and the Twitter. We have, as you can see in the bottom left corner of your screen, FISE World is our handle for Instagram and Twitter. As well, if you're a Snapchat kid, go to FISE World Series. That's where you'll find our handle. Make sure you stay in touch with all the action. Hashtag your post FISE World. And for this special 20th anniversary, hashtag FISE20 up here in Montpellier.
And such a great thing I just want to add about that hashtag. The cool thing is we have an opportunity to watch how you you are taking in this program around the world. It's always cool watching the different skate parks, bike shops, different fans of riding, how you guys are together and really sharing in on the action.
So we were speaking about conditions actually before. You said it's perfect weather out there. You know, it's really unique because Montpellier, we're in the southeast corner of France, and it's incredibly hot in the day. It's about 30 degrees Celsius. That means you're better doing the math, but I think it's 94-ish, 95.
Yeah, I'll say upper 80s, low 90s, somewhere in that range. But the sun has a lot of heat to it. A lot of the riders talked about how that extreme sun was taking out a lot of their energy in the runs. But now you can see the sun is just really starting to set out there, and perfect conditions in the air. Kind of a cool air is just blown in. The energy is definitely coming up, and you can see the lights are perfectly illuminating the ramp. But let's go back to our crowd again and all of our fans that are here. What you can see on the TV, obviously, is the thousands of people who are pushed up against the spine ramp, really trying to get a great vantage point. But what you can't see are the thousands of other fans that are flooding out into the street, who are really here celebrating our 21st edition of FISE, and it's such an amazing energy anywhere in the vicinity of the spine ramp, and the riders are all excited. I know some of the other riders that did not qualify tonight were saying, you know what's great, I could be down there, I could enjoy the party, I could celebrate BMX, and this is one of the highest energy events that we have, and they're really just out there to enjoy it. So we're taking a look again at some of our fans down there. Looks like we have some green monster men out in the crowd. I mean, you really can't even bring in the energy. The fact that you see those big signs saying the Webby Show, Marc Webb is always a crowd favorite out here. He's going to be our 6th rider to go. That means that he qualified in 11th place yesterday. Webb is always a favorite out here, especially because he puts his heart on the line every time that he rides. But let's take a look and see which of the 16 riders wound up qualifying from yesterday.
Oh, it's a massive international fleet, as you can see here. It's not French-dominated. Clint Miller, Irek Rezev, Mike Varga from Canada, Brian Fox, Kevin Peraza, Marc Webb, Pat Casey, Daniel Dhers. Those are some massive names to take it slowly.
So there were our first 8. Our second, Michael Braun, Jack Clark, Jose Torres-Gil, Alex Colborne, Brandon Lupos, Ben Wallace, Colton Walker, and your number 1 qualifier, Logan Martin. So again, we reversed the order that the riders wound up qualifying in. Wallace, Walker, Martin were 3, 2, and 1, and that's basically how we wind up racking the deck out there on our riders.
Talk about doing double duty. What does it take to come out on top of both events, the Spine and the BMX Park?
It takes a lot of endurance. The fact we mentioned the conditions today were extremely hot. You know, you might say for any rider at home, hey, these guys are taking 2 runs on the course. They're 60 seconds apiece. It's a lot more than that. You basically are ready for battle at any time. You have to keep your energy high, you've got to be ready, and you've got to keep your blade sharp out there. So a lot goes into it. It's a very draining being out here at the event, not to mention as well, there's so many fans out here. These riders are absolute rock stars, getting a chance to interact with all their fans, which is such a cool thing. But when you're riding at this level, when your brain has to be so sharp and your body has to match, it definitely comes down to endurance. Logan Martin, who was our top qualifier, showed earlier today in our BMX Park semifinal that he was definitely one of the highly endured riders out there who basically went the entire 60 seconds, didn't skip a beat from his first drop in to the last moment out on the course. And let's see if that winds up, if that transfers over into tonight. Again, that's a lot of energy, and we're going to make sure that they're not fatigued out on the course.
As you can see, there's a few announcers standing on the roller of the right beside the spine there. There's a bunch of riders kind of slowly making their way down into the middle. What we are going to do is, in French, they're going to introduce the riders and all those top 16 athletes who will be riding in the finals here today. So we're just waiting for the kids to go down and listen to the announcers on site there and wait for that introduction. And we'll let you you see as well as the crowd gets ecstatic once they say their names. I can't imagine when they're going to say Marc Webb what happens.
You know, while the riders are waiting to get lined up, this is a great opportunity to look at the scale of this ramp in comparison. Most of our athletes are around the 6 foot mark. And if you take a look, if we're going to talk meters, it's a 2.2 meter ramp. This is almost a 7 foot tall ramp, coping spine on either side. You can see on the left side of your screen that vert wall or sub box is at 3 meters, almost 10 feet tall.
Et vous allez leur montrer tout au long de cette finale Montpellier, je compte sur vous pour leur dire tout l'amour que vous avez pour le BMX et tout ce que vous pensez du bordel qui va se passer sur cette rampe. On va commencer à vous présenter les riders en partant par le numéro 1 ce soir dans mon cœur, qualifié à la 16e place, messieurs dames. Il est juste derrière le caméraman, tout à droite. C'est une légende du BMX. Il a monté à Marconi en Australie, 42 ans. Ce monsieur est juste un pilier dans le BMX mondial. Faites du bruit pour la légende Clint Miller.
All right, taking a look at Clint Miller. He was our 16th qualifier out there. He is from Australia, owner of Colony Bikes. One of our oldest competitors in the class at 42 years old, but definitely a seasoned rider with some very unique tricks.
Peraza coming in there had an absolutely amazing run as well in the semi-finals of the park. Ended up 13th today.
Our third rider of the spine final is going to be Canadian Michael Varga. Varga definitely came out crushing last year at our FISE World Series. Had some of the best tricks of the competitions where he's able to throw down some wild rotational spins, very reminiscent of what we saw Brian Fox do in our qualifier.
Un rider qui à chaque fois nous fait un show encore plus dingue sur la mini et en soirée. Le plus gros fêtard des pro riders. Un maximum de bruit pour Brian Fox!
And there is none other than Brian Fox, the 1080 man over the spine. Will he be able to do it again today and link up the rest of his run?
Our fifth rider who is going to be coming at us from the US of A via Tucson, Arizona, 22 years old. He's doing it for Mongoose, Monster, and riders that like to smile all over the globe. We're talking about the Vans athlete, Kevin Peraza. Kevin's another one who's made quite a name for himself with the reputation of putting his heart on the line when he rides. Of years past here at our FISE World Series.
Il représente Total, il représente Vans. Faites du bruit Montpellier pour le patron, Marc Webb!
And I'm just going to let you hear some of the crowd there. This is where the Webby show started. Marc Webb made it into the finals here. He said earlier this week he had some broken ribs, so it's very nice to see the rider out here today.
Our seventh rider who is going to be following Marc Webb, which is no easy task to do with this crowd, but if one man can, it's from Placencia, California, doing it for Mongoose Fox and also his two boys back in California. This is Pat Casey.
Juste à côté, il nous vient du Venezuela, également un patron sur la mini-rampe. Le garçon s'est mis des matchs avec Marc Webb pendant des années à Cologne. Il est là pour vous enchanter ce soir. Faites du bruit pour le rider élu, Monsieur Daniel Dhers.
Daniel Dhers, none other than the man who has had a gold or an actual medal in any single contest that has ever happened for BMX. Can he do it tonight? We'll have to see.
Our ninth rider coming from the Czech Republic. Great to see him back healthy on his bike this year. None other than the bike flipper himself, Michael Braun.
À ses côtés, l'anglais le plus dingue. Il est inépuisable. Il fait des runs absolument infinis. Vous le connaissez. Il roule pour Vaughn. Est-ce qu'on peut faire un maximum de bruit pour son runner, Mr.
Jack Clark from Essex, Great Britain, doing it for vocal and order.
Il nous vient de Colborne en Argentine. Il s'est mis les hauteurs les plus folles du week-end.
Our next rider, coming all the way from Argentina, exploded onto the scene last year, really making a name for himself. 22 years old. I'm talking about Jose Torres Gil.
Juste à ses côtés, le magicien, le spécialiste de la ligne à Espagne, il a déjà remporté l'épreuve ici plusieurs fois. C'est un de vos chouchous, je le sais. Il a 24 ans, il vient d'Angleterre, il représente son BMX et Monster Energy. Est-ce qu'on va accueillir comme il se doit, Alex Colborne?
Of course, Alex Colborne.
Le rider suivant, messieurs, dames, nous vient de Sydney en Australie. C'est sa première fois au FISE. Je compte sur vous pour lui montrer.
Our next rider from down under, Sydney, took top honors at our Colorado stop last year, 24 years old. Big rider with big tricks. We're talking about Brandon Lupos.
Là encore, à sa gauche, une légende du BMX.
And all the way from Riverside, the one and only Ben Wallace.
Le rider suivant nous vient des États-Unis.
Your number 2 qualifier, coming all the way from US of A, via Wisconsin, 19 years old, Colton Walker.
Et le dernier rider,
Finishing it off, last but certainly not least, we are going to have 16 riders dropping after him. He will be the last one down. Logan Martin from Brisbane, Australia.
Listen to the roar of applause from our fan base here in Montpellier. You know, Ryan, we've been talking about the crowd all week long, but the riders really love this event more so than any other. It's the main stage. This is a rock concert indeed. We have DJ Mike Rock blasting the tunes out here. You can see our judges up in the Eagles perch on top of that vert quarter, and all of our gladiators are getting ready to do battle on our beautiful spine course. But take a look into the darkness. Literally thousands of people all vying to get the best seat possible to see the action that's about to go down.
As we are in the 20th anniversary of FISE, we had this beautiful book put together, but as well we had some amazing documentation footage put together. Interviews of a lot of the athletes who have been out here from the start. Ryan Nyquist, who is unfortunately not qualified in for the spine tonight. We will not be seeing riding. I know he is in the crowd watching though right now and having a blast with the other folks. He has been here since 1997, since the first games started of FISE. In his interview, he said, a quote, "You may have second thoughts before you're dropping in, but once you hear the roar of the crowd, everything silences in your head." And this is an absolutely amazing thing to see, because this is really the impactful, the impact that the audience has on every one of these athletes. There is nothing that can touch this, and it is so beautiful to be out here for the 20th anniversary of FISE.
Yeah, Ryan, definitely a legend of BMX, but it's so great to see that at this point in his career, he is riding harder than ever and really pushing not only his BMX path, but he recently has adopted to the larger wheelbase mountain bikes, and he's been out here taking part in our slope style course. Unfortunately, wound up injuring his ankle, so he's not going to be competing with us in the spine contest, as you were mentioning.
Yeah, he unfortunately went down super hard on the last on his last run in the mountain bike slopestyle, attempting to make it through to the semifinals with a 720 bar spin.
So right now we're looking at the battlefield as our riders wind up warming it up out there, getting that blood flowing. As we said, our riders are going to be broken down into separate heats. Does not matter which heat you're in, which order you're in technically, because you're being judged against your peers. Some might say there's an advantage to being in that top speed spot that Logan has, where you're going to be going last. And some riders do tend to say that because of the fact they have an opportunity to watch what the other riders have done, and they can determine how much they want to turn up their run to either knock someone out of that potential podium spot, or if they say, you know what, I could maybe not go all out and risk falling, but maybe do tricks that they feel a little bit more confident with. That would be one of the advantage points of being at that spot. But again, if you're in first heat or the last rider in the last heat, you're being judged against your peers out there. We have our judges who are going to be watching all 32 runs out there and really trying to analyze of seeing where our riders sit. But look at that crowd again, off into the distance, across the street and all the way down past the Les River. There are just thousands of fans flooded in to take in this event. Want to take this moment as well, if you are watching at all, you can follow along the action and send us direct tweets at Ryan Meyer, RyanMeyer, or at Daryl Now, DARRYLNAU. But right now we're looking at your 16th qualifier, the man from down under who has lived, breathed, eat, slept, and done business in BMX for most of his life. We're talking about the front and back brake rider, the 4-peg destroyer, Clint Miller, getting ready to drop in. I got to tell you, I was so impressed seeing Clint out here. I've been a fan of his riding for years. He's not traditionally a contest rider. I know this is my first time seeing him here at the FISE event. He's having the time of his life, and it's so great at 42 years of age. He's pushing his riding, and we're about to see a unique style from Clint.
Colony represent. Clint, it was such a pleasure seeing him out here, like you said, and it's so cool, actually, that he got himself that 16th place spot.
So Clint right there having a little bit of difficulties on his first trick. Unfortunately, with the rules, we do not have the mulligan or the baba booey that they like to call if you mess up on your first trick. The clock is still going to count, but Clint coming back right there, 360 nose pick to toothpick coming in. The toothpick is when you bonk that front peg. There you see him doing an over toothpick. There is a foot jam tail whip utilizing his front brake. He's coming back. Yes, half bar spin out of that tooth. Bars backwards, toothpick. So Clint having a little bit of difficulty there in his first run. We're going to have an opportunity to see him for a second time on the course. Definitely one thing to note, the clock said 45 seconds. We've got our judges and riders down there who must have made a decision on the fly. So that's why there's a little bit of a change in time there. But Clint trying to make the most of it here with that over 360 nose pick to toothpick. The nose pick is on the front tire on the coping spine, and then just bonking that front peg, coming in nice and smooth.
Then we are going to go to another new school rider, Irek Razev, one of the newest Red Bull additions to the team. Check out how this kid flies. Qualified 13th in the park today. Oh, have a little hang up. Hope his tire is okay. Looks like it could have gotten a little flat from that.
Pressing the front wheel, very cool. No front brake. You see him slowing down. Yeah, hitting the pop right there, getting rotation back to his tires. The Russian putting together a unique two-hit combo. 5 seconds. These are the matters that count. Yo!
Yes, and showing that technical ability, going bar spin to foot jam, tail whip back in.
Great showing from Irek. He is a rider that is doing double duty today as well, kicking that frame around.
Not once, not twice, but 3 times there over the spine.
And there is a tail whip out of that foot jam with the bar spin prior. Very difficult to do because your weight's over the handlebars, but the Russian making it look easy, might I say. So the Canadian Mike Varga wasted no time with that 360 tail whip. Yes! Downside 360 whip going the other way over the spine. 360 bar spin. Varga looking to utilize the top part of that coping. You see him transferring over the spine to set up with a lot of speed for that foot jam. Smooth backflip right into a flare bar spin. Varga really utilizing every single wall.
The guys know, missing the ice over there, but the guys know that this is really their time to shine. They have to lay it down here. This is the finals.
With 16 of the world's best and only 45 seconds on the clock, every single moment counts. Taking a look at Varga's 360 tail whip straight into combos back and forth right there. So Varga just letting it rip, but listen to the crowd going mental right now. Brian Fox has been a favorite out here. As I mentioned, last year he went for a 1440 in a park. We actually saw him do the 1080 over the spine yesterday. And there's a cork out 720 right into a flare. So much height. Ryan, that means that he's landing very smooth up at the top of the coping in order to keep that speed and momentum to pop the flare at that height.
You know what I have to add? Brian Fox is a big boy. He has a lot of girth behind him, a ton of weight he carries, and a ton of muscle. You can see that in his riding. He is so firm and solid when he's coming down in the transition. Whether it be too low, he still has the muscle to carry the speed out.
Fox hailing from the Florida BMX scene. I know Dave Brumlow and the FLA BMX boys are watching right now as Fox really utilized the entire 45 seconds. And just listen to the crowd. They're loving it, the Brian Fox show.
Sick riding again. Vous pourrez le retrouver ce soir à la soirée officielle à la Niche Corner. Croyez-moi, Brian Fox, ça sera le dernier.
Check out, that's right out of the gate, that's 720 into the flare. And there's an alley-oop flare from Brian Fox. A lot of technical, big air trick difficulty.
So we are going back to the top right here. One of my favorite riders to watch of the competition. Again, he has an unconventional style for 2017. That's because his roots go all the way back to the pioneering days of mini ramp. We're talking about the 42-year-old Clint Miller, Colony Bikes owner.
I actually truly enjoy seeing kind of the history lesson back of how it used to be. It would be nice if, it would be very interesting actually if a new school younger rider came to the floor as well, utilizing 4 pegs like that and 2 brakes.
Yeah,
yes.
Going around 2 times, hopping on the wheel, falling on the over toothpick. Clint's got some time. Let's try to channel that energy and hopefully he gets back on the steed. I want to see Clint Miller really try to maximize his time on the course. Again, it is a treat watching him ride out here. Let's see. Going for that whip, trying to put his feet on the pedals. Very different than putting your foot on the tire. Requires a lot more upper body strength. But here you go, foot in the tire, hopping up and over, pogoing 2 times, coming right in.
Beautiful riding from Clint there. As it is his second run, he does get a chance now to enter into the best trick. Let's see what Clint has.
Oh, so close. You see he landed with his weight over the coping. Full commitment right there. So again, as we said, it's going to be 3 different pulls out there. I think we heard our commentator saying that they're going to hold it for the best trick. We'll probably fire through the runs and then jump into our best trick as we go down, giving our riders a little bit time to catch a breather. And they're going to have 3 attempts.
Next up, getting elated with that crowd of applause before he drops in, Eric Rezev. Huge toboggan, massive amplitude, tail whip to tuck no hander. Whip it around on that vert wall.
Look at the confidence too, the way he's able to just pump these transitions. Looping out right there over that spine. He did the double tail whip and his weight landed back over his bicycle. Traditionally, if a rider had some brakes, they could just give him a quick tap and it would actually cause your front end to drop down. Eric brakeless, getting a little wild style going off the side of the ramp. He is going to be okay, but again, if a rider does have brakes, they can utilize them. If their weight is going to go off, you could drop the front down by, as I like to say, feathering the brake, just tapping it against the rim. But Eric having a little bit of difficulties in his second run, but we will see him back in his best trick.
Check out the amplitude on that tail up to tuck no hander. Oh, and this one as well, some beautiful style both ways on the tables. We're going to be moving to the Canadian Mike Varga. He's going to be entering for his second run. Giving a little glance to see if they're ready for him, and we are.
Varga doing it for DK, Monster, and Vans over toothpicks, starting things off with the double tire ride. 360 double bar spin, so smooth the way he just hands the handlebar off the handlebar. Downside 360 tail whip, ice pick on the sub box. Varga in the zone with that backflip on the spine. Bar spin, ice pick, bar spin. Varga having no flat walls here. Foot jam wall ride, setting up for a big flare. That backflip 180 over can-can. Foot jam on the sub, 360 tabletop. Varga with an ideal run here. Step over can-can as the clock is 3, 2, 1. Foot jam, 360 bar spin out of Varga. That was a great run right there, Ryan. We saw him action-packed beginning to end. Utilized a lot of the features, downside 360 whip, but also hit those wall rides and went up on top of that sub box.
His iPod to Spice Girls. He is a walking party machine. So this is
a walking party machine. We hear Sebastian introducing Brian Fox in the biggest way possible. He wants the crowd on their feet for this one. It's going to be a big one.
Fox is charged up. He is feeling the energy of Montpellier.
Oh! 1080 into a flare, no way! Not only did he just do it, but he did it in the first hit of his run and continuing solid.
Now let's see if Fox can keep the momentum, and he's on that warpath with a no-handed flare. He is doing airs in both directions. You see his pegs on his right side. So that means when he is airing the opposite way, he's utilizing the whole course. That was a flare in his regular direction. Fox, 5 seconds to go. He is absolutely annihilating our spine mini ramp. Double peg up over the spine. And that was an enormous run out of Brian Fox. Look at that 3 rotations, such commitment right there, looking completely over his shoulder. Just dedication to the spins. 3 of them coming around, and Brian Fox, a crowd favorite here in Montpellier.
And the crowd, there we go. Don't know how well you guys can hear that back home, but we have football-style chants and with an audience to back it.
Alors, les Mastics, mon cher Pee-wee, c'est leur dernière figure. Exactement. Brian, stay here. There's the best trick. Brian did his best trick.
They said, Brian, stay here. There's a best trick. I'm wondering, would they not just count his 1080 for the best trick?
If that was what he threw in his run, as you mentioned, one of his first hits in his run, what else could that madman from Florida be thinking? But Brian Fox is our 4th rider of our first heat, so we're going back up to the top. Clint Miller is going to have 3 runs. We see so many world's firsts happen here at FISE. So as mentioned, our riders are going to have 3 pulls on the course. If they don't do it in that, those are the 3 that are going to count. It is a separate competition from their contest runs. And if they wind up attempting anything beyond that, that is for all of our fans at home, for all the fans in the house, and I'm safe to say it's for us as well, because we are diehard fans of all of our riders out here. And I gotta say, I'm so psyched that Clint Miller is representing the 40-plus riders out here, 42 years of age to be exact.
Allez, ça prend.
So he is coming in, setting up for a lip trick. Oh, he's trying to kick that whip and land to the pedals. It takes a tremendous amount of upper body strength, and you have to land with your arms locked out and your weight so far forward, which is hard to do with the way he's kicking that tail whip. Come on, Clint. You got the backing of Australia.
He's going for one more try, I believe. Usually how it goes in Montpellier, if the crowd gets loud enough, that's when big things happen.
Here we go. Oh! He had the weight positioning proper that time. You saw he just slipped the pedal as his foot was going right back on. So close right there. But you get 3 pulls in the ring, and that was not enough.
Alors Montpellier, vous connaissez la sauce. 3, 2, 1.
All right, the Russian. We saw some of his jumping abilities in. Yo! Wow, I was going to say we saw some of his jumping abilities in our park semi today, but that is a combination lip trick right there, pressing Ryan on his front wheel, right wedging into the wall to get that balance point and trying to use all upper body strength with his tail whip out. Oh, so close. All right, Yurek Ryzev coming in focused. The backing of thousands of fans. Oh, so close, Ryan. Pressing that front wheel, attempting to get that 180 revert out with the tail whip. So difficult because your weight is focused on your handlebars and that front tire. And then when you get that pop out, you've got to kick and spin with the upper body once it's released from the wall to get that tail whip coming around. So he got closest on his second attempt of 3, but it was not enough to get it done. All right, our third rider is the Canadian Mike Varga. Now this is going to be interesting. We know Varga has those crazy rotational abilities as well, also with some wild lip tricks. Which direction is he going to bring this?
Oh!
Varga, I believe right there, going for a 9, but it looked like he smashed his pegs down.
Yeah, that's what I was.
A hard to see without the replay, but let's take a look.
It looked like he had a little ice pick tab on the back on the way back in. Sounded like it at least.
Maybe we'll get an opportunity to see another look, but again, with just a quick glance from our house, I believe that might have been a 900. Potentially might have hit 1 peg, maybe 2. Let's see right here. It's hard to tell if he hit the coping, but it didn't necessarily look like it. We wound up hearing some noise. The way his body weight was, it almost looked like he was thinking about going double peg. Almost an unfathomable feat, though, considering you have that wild rotation coming around.
And well, 1080, maybe it didn't count in the run. We did say that this is a completely separate run from the contest. It's a separate contest from the spine event. So maybe Brian Fox is going to have to go out there and do the 1080 again.
And you can actually see him right there loosening up that headset, kind of going through the motion. I wonder if he's going to wind up doing a bar spin in his run. Maybe that is just kind of like a excitement tick that he has before he drops in. He's getting a pound right there from Marc Webb. Also from Mike Varga. I think they're maybe saying, hey, do you want another pull? He's like, nope, I did one out there. The 900 was good for me. Maybe he's getting a few pointers on that rotational spin. We will see. All eyes are on Brian Fox as we find out what it's going to be.
Oh, going for something completely different.
Big flare bar spin, I believe. So we did see him wind up on the deck, rotating handlebars around. We actually saw him throwing the bars twice while he was on the deck. I wonder if he was maybe going for potentially a double bar spin flare. Very hard to speculate with the level of riding right now and also with the arsenal of tricks that Brian Fox has.
Bar spin, bar back flare.
Oof. So much of riding is taking the mental, making it physical. So you see right there him visualizing throwing the bars one way and potentially throwing them back. Let's see as Brian Fox sets up big here.
Oh! Brian Fox, two of the hardest tricks out there.
Look at Fox just hamming it up right now. Marc Webb getting some video footage. You could probably see that clip on Webby's Instagram at The Webby Show, but right now it is the Brian Fox Show. Flare, bar spin back. So cool the way that he guided it around, and then almost a bus driver coming back as you see his hands not fully off the bar. A bar spin is traditionally when you throw the bars. A bus driver is when you guide it around. Chris Moeller, the founder of S&M Bikes, was the first rider to ever throw the bus driver. He dubbed that because at the time he had a VW bus that he put all his S&M frames in the back, and he had a huge bus-style steering wheel. So that kind of helped give him the inspiration for throwing the bars around. So right now we've got our 5 judges again: Igor Vukadinovic, Van Holman, Bibi, Senad Grosic, and Hank, who are going to make sense of this. An 85.20. Brian Fox, the American, up in the top spot. The Canadian, Mike Varga, with the 7.7 flat. Eric Rizev and Clint Miller are going to round out your top 4 riders. Again, we are not going to see a full picture until we start going through all of our riders. They're all competing against each other, looking for one of those top podium spots. If we rewind the clock to last year, our top 3 finishers were Marc Webb in 3rd, Daniel Dhers in 2nd, and Logan Martin in that top spot. If you're just joining us, this is the place to be. We are at the FISE World Series Montpellier, France. Stop 1 on our FISE World Series at our BMX Spine Final. So we're going to break down a little bit of the action from our first heat of riders to go. Again, we have 16 complete. These are our first 4. That was Clint Miller, the Australian. This is the Russian, Eric Rizev, throwing a triple tail whip over the spine. Popping that tail whip. Eric, bar spin, yes, foot jam to tail whip. Such a tech combination. Mike Varga wound up igniting the course with that backflip straight into a bar spin flare, but it was all about Brian Fox on this heat, popping a huge alley-oop flare. He had that 720 over the spine. Clint Miller was getting tech right there, utilizing his front brake and some fancy footwork, double tail whip foot jam. Eric Rizev, a unique 2-hit combination with an unturned down into a tabletop. Bar spin, ice pick, bar spin from Varga. And here is Brian Fox's 1080. That is 3 rotations going all the way around. There's only a few riders that can do that spin. I remember many, many years ago there was a race going on to do it. Ryan Nyquist was one of the riders in that race. Only a few can pull off the elusive 360s, Brandon Dosh being one of them. Also, Todd Main's got that spin on pop. I don't know if anyone else has ever done one in competition, but Brian Fox definitely let it rip over the spine. So right now we got our next heat of riders warming up the park. Excuse me, warming up the spine. The one name to know of this heat is a favorite of Montpellier. We're talking about Marc Webb. He's going to be our second rider to go. Now, for all of our new fans out there might be saying, why is it that people go nuts for Marc Webb? That must mean that, one, you're not familiar with his riding, but two, our fan base here is so committed to coming every year to FISE, and they love the energy that each rider puts out. And Marc Webb throughout the years has put his heart on the line every competition, year in and year out. But another rider who has a huge growing fan base out here is our first rider of heat number 2. That's a Tucson rider of Kevin Peraza. In the last few years, Kevin has definitely put his heart on the line doing crazy 540s over box jumps, landing backwards, also over the hitching post with some wild variations. And the fans know that Kevin always puts his heart on the line and always rides with a big smile plastered across his face. So Kevin getting ready to lock, loaded, shot out of the cannon. Doing it for Monster Mongoose Vans. Getting some love from Demolition as well. Waving to the crowd, taking in the love. Kevin lives for this, not only BMX, but this event in particular. Again, there's contests that do happen around the world, but there is nothing like the crowd here at our spine final. And Kevin just blasting a big 3 variation over the spine. And look at the downside 360, catching it so smooth to go into that flare tail whip at massive height. 360 unlooked down over the spine. Wall ride coming back, hitting strong with another 360 tail whip. Peraza Superman Sea Grab, Indian Air downside tail whip. Double tail whip, having a little difficulty, but able to roll away with 1 foot. 10 seconds, some fancy footwork on that front wheel. Peraza wall ride the tail whip.
Yeah, and wall ride to tail up the other way, going for the downside.
So you see 2 different variations out there. The wall ride to whip, Scotty Kramer was one of the first riders to do that, along with Ruben Alcantara. The wall ride to downside whip, I believe Taj Mihelic might have been the first rider to do. And we're seeing Kevin Peraza out here give his own spin. Want to take a moment and give a shout out to Scotty Kramer, who I know is watching back in New Jersey. I know Scotty is excited to watch Marc Webb out on the ramp, as is our thousands of fans who are going nuts right now.
Je pense qu'on a même pas besoin de expliquer le run. C'est vous qui allez faire le bruit, Montpellier. Monsieur Marc Webb est dans la place. Allez, écoutez-moi le bazar. Je veux que ce soit le feu. Webby, 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 Webby.
Listen to the chants, Webb-E, Webb-E, cheering on Marc Webb as he does a big 360 turn down, double tail whip. Marc Webb is a rider who has brakes and likes to use them with extremely tech variations. And right now it's in the air. Webby is keeping it off the ground. There's a tail whip, tail tap. Again, we mentioned his brakes. Let's see if in the final 16 seconds he winds up utilizing 540 tail tap on the sub box.
Help in tuck no hander. Marc Webb, we said, has been out for quite a while with some injuries. He's still riding with a set of broken ribs here, he said. Double peg stall on top of that vert wall coping. Flare, bar spin or X-up, I'm not too sure. Quite sure it would be the bar spin coming from Webby. 540 to ice in, over ice on the spine. Tail whip to foot jam.
Marc Webb going way over the allotted time, but with this crowd, he is so charged up. I think if you said, Marc Webb, you've got a 5-minute run, he'd have the energy fed and fueled by our crowd out here. So Webb keeping majority of his run airborne out there as he winds up throwing down some wild spins. You can see that backflip fakie right there, getting that revert on the transition, throwing up the wing right there to the crowd. So our third rider of heat number 2 is going to be Pat Casey. We saw Pat tearing it up in our qualifying, in our semifinal BMX Park, but right now Pat on the mini ramp. Pat, again, has one of the coolest backyard ramps. It is a 7-foot spine, so he should feel very at home out here on this ramp.
Beautiful 3-bar spin to tail whip. Tuck no hander over on that spine, gaining momentum, but still doing tricks.
I think one of the biggest differences is he has an extended spine as opposed to a coping spine, but Pat looking so comfortable, landing fakie, utilizing the free coaster, trying for a cab variation. Weight getting a little cattywampus, off balance. Let's see if Casey can pull it back together with 6 seconds. Casey setting up. Yes, alley-oop right there, flare tail whip.
Oh, and the 360 whip to fakie. That trick is so difficult to do.
Casey delivering the goods when it counts right there. We're going to mention another rider who likes to deliver it when the pressure's on. He feeds off the aspect of competition. That is why at 32 years of age, he has won almost every major competition. He got second last year in our spine, and in 2014, he was our overall FISE champion. I'm talking about the Venezuelan rider coming via North Carolina. This is the one, the only, Daniel Dhers. Look at the focus. Dhers is in that zone, dropping in as 45 seconds starts winding down.
Daniel Dhers, huge amplitude on that 720. Wow, he came out hard there. He has a very unique style. We talk about riders showcasing their different abilities. It's kind of like wearing a different set of clothes, and Daniel Dhers has his own unique handmade one. It's one of a kind. He has a lot of tricks that he's invented himself, and he has his own style of doing the tricks that have already been done before him.
Yeah, Daniel really was one of the first riders to practice repetition and consistency. I remember one of the first times he was in the U.S. and went over to Woodward. This is in the 90s. I had a chance to meet and ride with him back then. And he was one of the first guys to literally just sit there on a quarter pipe and practice hundreds of times in a row specific tricks. And you can see that that still transfers over to his daily riding. So at every competition, he has those tricks he could just pull and deliver when the goods count. And if you're going to be a champion, that is definitely what it takes. So we're looking at Dhers' first run. Here is that 720 corked out over the spine. Again, he was one of the first riders to ever really to deliver that off-axis style. I remember the first time he did that over a spine, I believe it was at a Baco Jam down in Florida in Orlando, and everyone was just completely mesmerized. But now Kevin Peraza is back to the top of heat number 2, taking his second run.
He has some very unique style as well, and so comfortable with that with no brakes. Like we always say, a smile that, well, as was said earlier today, a smile that could save world peace. Oh, going for the 540, not quite getting the rotation. Or maybe going for the 360 and over-rotating, who knows?
I think when you're Kevin Peraza, you can do either or at a whim. The one thing you can't do, though, is land in between on those rotational spins. You see him going dark side, hitting his front peg on the under, and that is a 540. And you see him just gliding with that revert coming out. Very nicely done, Kevin. He almost hit that pop button and just floated right into the transition.
You see how chilled out he was on that first attempt at that 540. It looked, we were like, well, he maybe over-rotated 3 or unrotated a 5.
Yeah, when you have that coping spine, you're only traveling a few inches in distance, so you have to be cautious of how much pull you give it. But someone who is not cautious in giving the energy is a crowd here showing their love for Marc Webb. The UK rider you see rocking some respect on the back of his helmet to the late, great Dave Mira. The decibels just going up louder and louder as Webb using that back brake I was talking about, getting extremely technical with some back wheel boogie, double tail whip, tail tap, foot jam, toothpick. Rob Nolly used to be one of the only riders who would do all the crazy lip tricks like that, but Marc Webb in the early mid-2000s started giving it kind of a new school spin. Some mind-boggling abilities. Going for that over 270 ice. That was a trick that we saw Ben Wallace do in his qualifying runs yesterday. So Webb having a little bit of difficulty. So this is not Marc Webb's best trick, but he's just out here doing this for us, for the fans, and for all of you at home.
I haven't rode for 4 months. I'm tired. Il est fatigué. Fatigué. Est-ce qu'on est là pour Marc Webb? Je sais pas, je suis fatigué. Webby, 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 Webby.
Webby getting the crowd behind him to go and pull some big tricks after the clock here. He was looking for a backflip to tire tap up top there, or a flare tire tap on top of the high sub box.
You see Webb there with our judges as he drops down in. That is Van Homan in that maroon fit cap. You guys all know Van Homan from his legendary video parts, but he's actually a past FISE champion. I believe it was 2000, maybe 1, that Van wound up winning one of our competitions out here. But right now, Pat Casey trying to be the 2017 Spine champion.
Oh, and tricks like this, keep it going, and you are going to do that. Pat Casey. Bar spin 180. Oh, just going out on that free coaster. Fader on top of the deck. Double tail whip to Fakey. Oh, slammed his head. Hands up, he's okay. All you kids at home, make, and one pedal in to a flare whip. I said, all you kids at home, make note, every one of these riders has a helmet on.
So Casey trying to roll the dice out there, going for it. We're going to see him in the best trick, which will still be coming up, but there's a look at that tail whip. You see him kicking it with his other foot straight into a double. Casey, a quick foot jam around, and there is the double tail whip Fakey rocking his bell right there.
And that's what I mean. You can progress as much as you want, but you are always going to go down, even if you're one of the top professionals like Pat Casey. So go out to your local bike shop, buy yourself a solid helmet. Your parents will pay for it, I promise you.
No, Daniel Dhers was not being a mime on top of the deck. He was visualizing his run. Daniel is no stranger at all to competition. At 32, he's a veteran with almost 20 years of practicing. So he is out here visualizing his run. I wonder if we actually watch the replay of what he was doing, how accurate it would be. But he is turning it up in run number 2 with that off-axis no-handed 720. Dhers bar spin coming back at the spine. 360 no foot can't the tail whip. 360 X up. Dhers is in the zone. He wants to be on that top spot. He does not like sitting in the number 2 position. That was an opposite no-handed 360. Dhers with the final crucial moments. Ryan, can he keep the momentum going? Over ice pick coming back.
Showing some technical lip tricks here as he finishes off to the bottom of his run. 2 seconds left. Dark side plant there, and a regular 360 finishing it off. Dhers looks exhausted, but a full run in the bag.
As we mentioned, our riders do have the 2 runs on the ramp, but Dhers was doing double duty today. He was riding in our semifinal BMX park. It's been an extremely long day for our riders. Not only are you practicing, you're also doing time on the course, but Dhers has definitely done his homework coming into 2017 with that no-handed off-axis 720. Here is a look at that alley-oop flare. He is floating backwards. So the judges are going to have to make sense of the craziness from our riders. But before they give us our scores, we are going to go back to Kevin Peraza for his best trick attempt out here. So the riders can choose any obstacle on this ramp that they want to throw down. It could be an air, it could be a technical combination that you put together, maybe linking together with a manual. Maybe he's going to utilize the beach ball that just got thrown out onto the course. You never know.
Clark going off to kick it off. Tell some kids to mind their manners. It's all fun and games up here. Peraza looks to be lip syncing to some hip hop up there. I'm wondering if he's going to start a new career in a couple years. DJ Mike Rock on the tables, helping out all the athletes get grooving to what they want. It isn't exactly a sport that you would do choreography to, but music is a heavy part of all these riders' influence. They all like to jam to something different. Peraza clearly likes hip hop. Whoa, pulling back a bit too much there on the spine. Let's see how he comes around this time. Going for the best trick. Oh, backflip, tail whip to unturn down. First try.
Taking a look right here. Flare, tail whip to tabletop right there. So we saw earlier in his runs, he did the 360 tail whip to tabletop. And right there, he winds up linking those tricks a little differently with the flare, which is the backflip 180. Tail whip, grabs his feet on the pedals, and then pulls the bike in as you're approaching that landing. Very hard to do because you have to time it so that you're not landing sideways with your bars twisted or your legs folded up into you.
Je pense qu'il va falloir que vous aussi, vous donniez tout pour lui. Il nous vient de ça aussi en Angleterre. Représente la Québec, ainsi que Total BMX. Mesdames et messieurs, le président de la
And the chance comeback. Marc Webb is going for his 3rd time, and his final time on course is not going to be a full run, but it's going to be a best trick, and we know Marc Webb has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Regardless if he has ridden in 4 months or not. Oh! Going for a tail whip to a Bubaka, back into fakie, flip on the other side at the spine.
That's what we were talking about, the crazy combinations being linked together, whether with a manual or a fakie right there, putting a lot of difficult tricks together. He is going to have 3 potential hits. And the wild thing with Marc Webb is that he has the ability to even land manuals out of flips. I'm not calling him out on anything. Pulling the fakie flip is insane, but you never know with Marc Webb. If you follow him on his Instagram, at The Webby Show, you can see some of the most ridiculous combinations. He's one of the riders who are utilizing a back brake, also with his very low bike setup and the steep geometry he has. He's helped push riding into new directions over the last decade. So let's see right now, Ryan.
All right, going for that front flip there.
So he was trying to get that rotational spin around, but he did not come backwards with enough speed. Let's see. So Webby giving it 3 tries, but honestly, I don't think the crowd's going to let him ride away from this without putting on more of a show. Webb has so many fans in the house who came here specifically to watch him on this spine. Here we go.
Just doesn't look like he's going to get it tonight, honestly. But we never know if the crowd... Yeah.
A very appreciative Marc Webb of all the love and support out here. There you go. Throwing a front flip over the roller, just a little something else to take home. So Marc Webb was going for that fakey front flip. He came out of the tail whip Abubakar variation the first time, then tried to up his speed a little bit more going backwards. He did not have enough momentum to carry him up high enough on the transition to get that rotation around. So his best trick is not necessarily going to count. He wasn't able to pull it, but Marc Webb having a solid showing out here, definitely giving the fans what they want to see, and that is the Webby Show. So our next rider, again, Southern California, Pat Casey. I'm interested, Ryan, to see if he utilizes his free coaster. That means when he lands backwards, he does not have to pedal, and he's able to traditionally get more momentum than if you have a coaster on the bike and a 180 double tail whip. Having a little trouble on the rollback, but again, you can watch when he puts his feet on the pedals, he does not have to pedal backwards. So he might be able to actually pump with his body weight into the transition a little bit harder to get more momentum coming back.
Casey, let's see if he can get it done here. Stall up. 1, 2. Oh, looks so close. Looks like his free coaster is engaging, actually. What I mean by his free coaster is engaging, it's supposed to not make your pedal, or it's supposed to make you not have to pedal backwards. As he gets to the ramp again, it looks like his pedals start going backwards.
Yeah, so a rider can actually adjust that spring tension in the back. You saw Pat Casey setting up his feet right here, coming in, 180 double tail whip. Yes!
Oh, and full cab out.
Yes, Pat. Full cab 360 coming in fakey off the 180 double tail whip. Very smooth. Right into the transition. We're taking a look. 1, 2, catching that transition. 1, 2, there you go. That was a smooth transition, and then able to get that pop where he does that full cab coming back at us. So Pat Casey getting his best trick done right there. A very hard thing to judge. We're seeing some air tricks, we're seeing some technical lip tricks, and then Pat Casey somewhere in between utilizing both of those aspects.
Yeah, it's hard. If you want to
Monsieur Michael Miller, Mr. Jack Clout, José Torres. Ok, Daniel Dhers, tiens plus d'énergie. Il va relancer le dernier trick. Mesdames et messieurs, s'il vous plaît.
So the question is, will Daniel Dhers be taking his best trick? Sometimes he's known to sit this one out. So I think Daniel Dhers is going to wave this one out to the crowd. You might be saying, why is he doing that? Well, part of it could also be that his focus is really on the FISE World Series title. Again, he's a very focused rider. Tomorrow, he will be in our BMX Park final, which will be going down. And a lot of times you don't necessarily want to risk an injury.
Like you said, he will be in the finals. He has qualified second, or in the semifinals. He came second today. Wow, my tongue is slurring tonight. But yeah, so he he is in a very high position for the FISE World Series. Check it out. Here are the standings after heat number 2. Daniel Dhers in the lead with a 91.0. Wow, those are some high scores. Brian Fox, 85.2. Mike Varga, 77. Marc Webb, 67.8. Pat Casey, 66.8. Irek Rezov, 63.6. Kevin Peraza, 60.8. And Clint Miller with a 48.8. That's finishing off the top 8.
So the big takeaway from our scores is Daniel Dhers, the Venezuelan, the only rider in the 90s. 91 jumping into that top spot.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights here from heat number 2. Peraza, you see here on screen, had some phenomenal riding. There's that 360 unlook back. Marc Webb, that's a flare turn down right into a flare tuck and into that 900 with a bit of a foot dab, but that's some traditional Marc Webb amplitude and aggression out on the mini ramp. Which I can't really call a mini ramp, it's a spine.
It's an enormous ramp, 2.2 meters, 7 feet tall. Pat Casey had some great riding out here. There is a 360 tail whip coming in fakie. You see him getting that revert right there.
And Daniel Dhers here, this is what got him that top spot of the 91. He came through with a massive run that seemed very planned out. He was practicing it before he dropped in. There is
Peraza in there.
Of course, Peraza doing that 540. So if you guys are watching online, we have the SFR Sports Rider of the Day Award. Make sure you guys check out FISE.fr/vote. Make sure you get your votes in for the Rider of the Day. If you do not see him on the board, you can go in and select your votes. FISE is giving away 2 limited edition jackets each day for the voters. This is for every final event. So here in the spine, you can go in, log on, and you will see the votes cast live time, so you can see if your favorite rider is up there or not.
Right now, Michael Braun on the course, looking great with that downside 360 tail whip straight into a foot jam. Yo, backflip hand plant. We saw him do one of those earlier today in our BMX semifinal. But Braun right now looking very confident and comfortable as the clock is winding down, getting into his final 10 seconds on the course. Again, the entire time is something that is so key and crucial out here. Michael, flare, backflip 180, going the opposite direction. And that is a solid run. You see he is psyched, popping out onto the deck.
Aïe, 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 ça va du lourd. On enchaîne maintenant avec la suivante. C'est la pile électrique. Les savent que Jack Clark est avec tout.
So there we see some highlights from his run. The vocal and tall order rider from Essex, Great Britain. It's none other than Jack Clark. Man who's really developed his riding through the years and came out on top here at the FISE, grew a name for himself, and we love seeing him every time on all the stops for the FISE World Series. Love how he's doing those 540 inward tabletops. Kind of became a signature move of Jack's. Suicide no-hander over the spine, and that over toothpick on top of the vert wall. Has some amazing style going in that 360 toboggan, downside whip. Tons of extension going on all the tricks he has out here. Going for that 540, I believe tuck, but holding it up, and a bit of the lip tricks. Jack Clark's time is going to be up, and this is going to be it. Bar spin 180 to fakie. That's going to do it for Jack Clark here in run 1 of the 3rd heat for the BMX Spine Ramp Pro Finals. You guys are just tuning in wherever you may be. I'm Ryan Meyer, joined with Daryl Now, the infamous BMX legend and voice of BMX, I would say. We are presenting to you It is the BMX Spine Pro-Am Finals here at the FISE Montpellier. Jose dropping in here.
My man, Jose Torres Gil, is crushing run at number 1 out of the gate in 2016. He made a name for himself, and right now he is solidifying it with that enormous 360 talent. And look at the height on the flare bar spin. Jose Torres Gil is out here making his presence known, destroying run number 1. Let's see if he can keep that momentum cruising as the clock is counting down. Very unique trick right there, going opposite direction, 1 foot toothpick. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that was the Jose Torres Gil show. Big ups, not only from the crowd, but hitting the pop button as he just blasts over the spine. Look at the height.
Yeah, let's check out this replay and watch how much aggression he came out of the gate with. The highest amplitude we have seen in all the runs today. I can assure you that was phenomenal. But a rider who knows how to put down the hammer when it is needed. Alex Colborne is on deck.
Alex Colborne lives for the parties here at FISE, and he lives for the atmosphere here on this mini spine ramp. Colborne won in 2015 and also in 2014. Right now he's trying to take that same energy as he does a 360 bar spin over the spine straight into a flare bar spin. Colborne throwing the bars double time. Look at the energy getting that rotation around. Colborne is in the zone, opposite bar spin foot jam over ice pick. Ryan, this run is insanity.
Absolute mayhem from the Bulldog, Alex Colborne.
Not skipping a beat, final moments here. Tuck no-hander coming in with a big flare at the buzzer. Big ups for Colborne.
There were so many tricks pulled together there. I don't even know how the judges will begin to tally this stuff up. Check out that 900. 360 double bar spin there over the spine, followed by, I believe, a double or triple whip.
Followed by insanity out of Colborne. I mean, his riding, as mentioned, in 2014 and 15 took top honors. He definitely wants to be back on top of the podium. He actually won our park event last year. So Colborne has what it takes. But another rider who's got what it takes is Michael Braun. I feel that Michael Braun has been a very underrated rider of the last few years. He's had a few difficulties at some contests, a couple of injuries, but he seems to be back on it, and I'm very psyched because Michael is one of my favorite riders to watch on the course. And right now he's trying to utilize with that downside 360 tail whip.
When Michael is on it, he is one of the most solid and consistent contest riders, I feel. It's a pleasure watching him and especially announcing him.
Braun setting up, backflip hand plant again. Mr. Consistency with a very difficult trick. Not only are you rotating around, and there is the bike flip that we were talking about earlier. You see him flip that bike flip around, getting it right back on in that quarter pipe air. So Braun stepping things up for his second run.
Next rider is for you, because he's coming from the motherland.
He is from the motherland, doing it for tall order, doing it for vocal, doing it for man.
Coming from the United Kingdom, Essex in particular, I hear they are introducing Jack Clark on deck right now.
Vocal rider, 360 bar spin to tuck, no-hander, double peg up on the sub box, coming in with the 360 bar spin to turn down. You got to be popping a lot of height right there to get that combination done, but Clark with 30 seconds is looking extremely confident in run number 2, 540 no-hander, ice pick up and over. I have a feeling this is where we're going to see Clark's technical abilities, especially with his bar spins, really start to prevail. Coming back with that tabletop, let's see. Popping that flat spin, flare 540. Clark with the tail whip version that time. Going fakey. Clark with a solid run. I thought we might see those bar spins out of Clark, but he kept things in the air with a lot of those flat spin 540 flares. So we're looking at the 360 bar spin to turn down. Great combination. And there is that flare tail whip.
Next up will be Jose Torres Gil.
Make sure our cameramen are zoomed out a little bit further, because if there's one rider who is really utilizing the pop on the spine, it is definitely our Argentinian rider, Jose Torres, aka the Gil. Look at the height. What a madman. Smooth manual setting up for a popping 360.
The most amplitude we have seen all night. Wow, check out that 540 bar there. Pop that 540 bar so straight, he hardly moved.
Downside 360 tail whip. Enormous second run at 5 seconds. These could be very crucial for him. Yeah, very unique combination right there. Opposite direction, bonking his front peg with his foot off, getting a hug from Michael Braun. And the Argentinian Gil is definitely psyched on his performance out here. I got to tell you, I'm very excited to watch his best trick. I'm hoping that it's a massive air. Because Gil has been hitting the height pole higher than any other rider out here. Or I should say unofficially, but from our house, it definitely looks like he's getting a little bit more boost than anyone else on the ramp.
If you guys are new to watching BMX or vert at all, just to get that extra bit of height, it isn't just a factor about speed, it's so much more. There's such a different technical ability to get that height. And so it's a very key point that the judges will note.
So the brawler, Alex Colborne, is in. That means all eyes in Montpellier are glued to the total rider with the 360 double tail whip. Colborne, as mentioned, 2006, wound up hanging up. 2014 and 15 came in first place. He wants to be back on that podium spot, looking for the bar spin to manual.
Wow, beautiful flare tail whip on the backside of the spine there. Bar spin the opposite way over ice. Bar spin to foot jam, showing a lot of the technical tricks on the lip. Double tail whip into a whip to foot jam. So many lip tricks. 270 to ice pick over, and that's going to do it for Alex Colborne. A ton of big air variations, some massive amplitude, and followed up with almost half of the end of his run dedicated to the lip tricks. I think that's how you stay on top here in the ramp. Check out some of the airs there, that 360 double whip in particular. Amazing height and amplitude from Colborne. That's going to do it. That was 2 runs for all of our athletes in the third heat here. Now we are going to set up for the separate contest, the best trick. Michael Braun, we saw doing some kind of tail whip variation in his mind. I know how to read minds. I have a sixth sense, I promise you. He's going to do something with tail whips. Let's go, Braun. Going back in for the quarter. Oh, wow! Wow, Michael Braun. I have never seen that before. If he lands this, I mean, I was going to mention in his run, he is one of the only riders that I can see consistently throw the bike flip in his run. He just did it in the second run of his spine here, and now he is going for a combination. Michael Braun, if the crowd gets behind him, he might be able to do this one. Oh, a little bit of a hang-up. He's going to restart on that one. Needs to get all the height and speed that he can get coming back into that quarter pipe that he is starting on right now. He's going to drop into one massive air on that SFR sports spine, come directly back and go into that bike flip combination. Bike flip to whip. Wow, perfect. Michael Braun.
Piranha out there taking his bike flip skills, letting it rip. Let's take a look under the hood of the madness. Bike flip to tail whip. Now the thing that's very interesting about this trick, he's doing it on a quarter pipe, and you see how it's completely seamless between the two tricks. He winds up throwing the bike around and then just lets the momentum of the back end just swing and rotate like a pendulum into that tail whip. Perfect execution for Michael Braun. So all eyes on the UK rider, Jack Clark. We've seen him step to the plate last year at our specific stops on our FISE World Series. And the cool thing about Jack, you never know what he's going to do. Some riders like to kind of pull out a specific trick or style, but Jack could either do wild spins, crazy bar spins, tech peg lip tricks, or sometimes really unique lines in the park. So let's see, where's Jack's mind at right now? Yeah, 540 bar spin to tabletop. I'm not sure if that's what Jack really wanted to do, and I only say that because he's got the hot hands on his bike. We've seen him do triples, maybe even quadruple bar spins of the past. So let's see which way he's going to go on this quarter pipe. I think Jack was just feeling it out, getting his head in the right space. Ooh. Did that 540 bar spin. That trick originally invented by Dennis McCoy, the legend DMC, who's in his 50s still riding and ripping. 540 bar spin to invert. Very stylish from Jack Clark right there.
I somehow felt he was going for something more like a 540 double bar to invert, but still, nonetheless, beautiful trick.
Let's take a look at the style here. Catching it with plenty of time, almost buzzing his front wheel on his shoulder right there. Like you were saying, still extremely impressive. So right now, the Gill, Jose Torres on the course. Popping a double tail whip at height.
Looks like he's going for a double whip to bar spin.
Ooh. He got the pump coming in the spine. Watch how he wound up leading with this front wheel coming in. He winds up putting all of his body weight into that transition, and it's called a pump when a rider pushes into the transition and they're able to generate speed through changing that angle as the force comes down. He had the pump, he had the pop, and it looked like he got his body weight right, but this is a very difficult trick. The crowd chanting Jose, backing the Argentinian, coming on in, setting up, getting that pump right there. Oh!
So difficult to get your hands to do that when you're falling back down and you see that ramp coming directly up at your face. Every instinct in your body says, no, don't do it, don't do it, don't take your hands off, don't throw another bar spin, but that's exactly what he's trying to do, overcome that mind over matter.
Big props though to Gill, blasting one of the higher double tail whips that we've seen of the competition, not to mention some of the highest airs in his run. I believe in qualifying it was official that he had the highest air, and it was a 360 over the spine. But our next rider, Alex Colborne, no stranger to the best trick competition. I've seen him do some wild ones throughout the year. Oh, going for a backflip deck variation. Alex Colborne in summer session in Helsinki, Finland 3 years ago, won best trick with a wild backflip variation. This summer, we're going to be back in Latvia for our summer session event. Alex Colborne will be there, but right now, Colborne is looking to bring the energy to Montpellier. Backflip, trying to find that manual. He's almost in a barrel roll here. Ooh.
Oh, looks like he's going for more than just that, but
That was a quick exit stage left, but he pulled it off right there. That was a flare, somewhat almost a barrel roll, a little hard to see from the camera angle. He was out, landing on that back wheel, looking for some type of manual variation, but you know what? He said, I will take it, because I kept that front end up straight into the transition.
as we let our riders from the fourth and final heat warm up on course, I'm going to ask you, who do you think should get the best trick right now? Right now, I have it in my head. Fox has the 1080 going, and then we have Michael Braun with that bike flip to tail whip. Who do you think should get that best trick right now?
You know, it's a very hard call to say. I mean, if we're talking about even just highlights through our competition, which we're watching right now of our riders of heat number 3, I got to say, I really love the heat of Jose Gil. I mean, he's just ripping it up. Torres was on fire. But as far as the best trick goes, we really have our top qualifiers yet to ride, and I have a feeling that the game is about to be completely changed, not only with their runs, but with their best trick. So it's a little hard to see until it winds up getting a full picture. But I was very impressed with Michael Braun's bike flip to tail whip, specifically because he had that pendulum-like consistency. He threw the bike around, put his hand back on the grip, and it just, with the same rotational speed, the back end came around.
We're watching Jose there finish off some of his second run. So I'll never leave out Alex Colborne, but when we are looking at what they have to rival against, Daniel Dhers is standing on top of the leaderboard currently with that 91 score. I'm wondering if any of them are going to be able to touch that.
So that is the big question as our 5 judges, Igor Vukadinovic, Van Homan, Bibi, Senna Grosic, and Dave Cleworth, try to make sense of the madness as scores are coming in. Will it be enough to beat Daniel Dhers' 91, who's currently sitting in that top spot? But one thing to note, we still have not had our top 4 riders from qualifying yet to go, and one of them being Logan Martin, who's your 2016 Spine champion and also your overall champ. So here we go, standings after 3. So we're seeing Jack Clark with an 86, not enough to bump out Daniel Dhers. But look at that, we have a new leader! Jose Torres Gil bumping out Daniel Dhers. This is enormous news. Alex Colborne with a 90 jumping in, and Jack Clark with a respectable 86, and Michael Braun in 6. But the big story, the Argentinian getting in the ring and delivering a few haymakers of his own with a 93, bumping back Daniel Dhers. So it's crazy to see 3 riders in the 90s up there, and big shout out to Jose Torres Gil. Last year he made quite a name for himself on the FISE World Series, and right now he is cementing it by popping into that top spot. But the big questions that we have, our top 4 qualifiers have yet to ride, and will they be able to bump up past that 93 currently held by Jose Torres Gil?
Do you know what that shows me? That shows me that the judges are awarding amplitude definitely here, and somebody who knows how to do that is Brandon Lupos, a guy who goes incredibly high and has some of the biggest tricks in amplitude. Let's see how he finishes off this run.
You had perfect timing as you said that, because he blasted with that flare and with that no-hander right there. We also mentioned that Lupos has some great stamina. In Colorado, where the air is thin, he was one of the only riders who was able to really utilize that full 60 seconds. But right now he's trying to really milk the 45 for all they're worth. Lupos is just lighting this ramp on fire out here, trying to up that 93.
Oh, unfortunately, don't actually know what he was going for. It looked like a no-foot can, but
well, lucky for him, it was at the end of his run, not at the start of your run. Obviously, having a mess up here or there is going to negatively impact you, but he did have some huge hammers throughout his run, specifically popping that 540 flare right there. So Lupo's getting things done, but our next rider, coming from Riverside, California, originally the UK, Big Ben Wallace, 30 years old. Recently a father. It's safe to say that that has been fueling his riding to up the ante for Ben Wallace in 2017. Just had some very impressive riding at some contests earlier in the year. Won best trick at the Vans BMX contest where he did a big flare transfer, and we saw him really excel by mixing technical abilities with a lot of height on these quarters in qualifying. So Ben Wallace dropping in with the big 360 look back, straight into a 1-foot table air, letting the wingspan rip on that no-hander. Wallace landing a little flat, but recovered nicely, going over ice pick and back. You see his control with that over 270 double peg. I believe he was looking for the ice pick, but he was able to keep it rolling with that double peg instead. Wallace downside tail whip, flare, turn down. That's a backflip 180, turn down coming back at us. 540 tail tat with precision right there. There's the over 270 ice pick. So Wallace getting it done, having a couple of boggles in there, but I gotta say, if you're gonna do that, you're able to recover. Wallace playing them off perfectly and had some very big hits wall to wall. Taking a look at some of the highlights, that tail whip was beautiful. The fact that he's goofy footed, he was able to step right into it over the top tube, over toothpick. So Wallace with the big first run. As we break it down of heat number 4 of 4, 16 riders in the final. 2 have yet to take the course in our spine competition, one of them being one of our younger riders out here, 19 years old, Colton Walker, hailing from Wisconsin, USA. Walker with the 360 tail up to bar spin. Yes. Walker riding it like a demo out here. No flat walls. Walker foot jam on the sub. Firing back with a very slow-mo, beautiful rotation. Flip barrel roll over the spine. These are the crucial moments. If Walker can keep this going, I think he might be giving some of our guys a run for the money out here. Slow-mo backflip, coping spine. That is how you do it in run number 1 when you are Colton Walker. But again, Ryan, it is overall impression. Both runs count from the first second to the last. And Walker definitely utilized the first 45 here of run number 1. Well, there's one rider who has yet to take the course. He is your 2016 Spine Champion. He is also your 2016 FISE World Series Champion. He is your top qualifier from yesterday, and he is a crowd favorite here in Montpellier, France. I am talking about the Australian, the one, the only, Logan Martin.
Wow, and talk about amplitude as you bust out of the gate. And then going back again with vengeance. Wow! So much height and aggression in this riding and not slowing down one bit. You can see he is not cutting any corners, landing perfectly on transition both ways. Double tail whip transfer, flare bar spin. It is not letting up in the slightest yet.
Logan knows the score to beat is at 93, and that is one of the advantages of going last. You say, hey, I got to turn things up, and Logan right now has the volume cranked to 11 with a huge run executed perfectly.
Is he even out of breath? It doesn't even look like it. This guy is on fire. He is at the peak of his fitness and especially the peak of his riding right now.
So that's what we talked about. If you ride last, you have the advantage point to go, you know what? How much do I need to turn this up, and what are the degree of difficulty of tricks? And Logan Martin twists the knob to 11 and just let it rip, putting his body weight all the way to the handlebars right there on that flare variation rotation. That 540, the crowd going nuts for Logan. If you're just joining us, the energy is explosive. This is the Spine Finals out here in Montpellier. Our final heat of 16 riders, 4 gladiators about to drop in and take their second runs out here on the course. This is Brandon Lupos coming all the way from Australia, doing it for Fox, Burn, and fans of big riding like that 360 double tail whip.
Oh, and going off the high side of the vert wall there.
I believe that was a triple tail whip off the tombstone. Lupos, another guy who said, you know what, I got to turn it up. I want to be on that top podium like he was last year in Colorado. Lupos delivering the goods, wall after wall after wall, getting that flip fakie. Quick nose bonk bar spin back. If he can pull some momentum here, he definitely has a big run, and this could be a top of the podium. Throwing down that flare. Final moments. And Lupos throwing it up to the crowd as they go wild for a big run from our Australian beast out there. Hailing all the way from Sydney, kicking that triple tail whip around on our extension. So Lupos throwing the backflip about 30 seconds into his run, lost some momentum. It's definitely hard to gain it back, but he definitely finished strong. So all eyes right now are on Big Ben Wallace. That's right, he's looking at you out there as well, doing it for Mongoose, doing it for his newborn baby back home in Riverside, California, but he's right now making all UK riders proud as he starts run number 2 up with that tail whip on the spine.
Oh, and just going down on the downside 360, slipping a pedal, but coming back, regaining his momentum.
Charging, looks like that actually fueled him up. Let's see where he's going. Yeah, hitting that dark side toothpick. Double tail whip, Wallace. If he can recover, that might not mess him up too much. There is a Fufanu balancing on that back wheel. I know that is Johnny Cirillo's favorite trick, and right now he is going over ice pick back fakie. Stepping a foot down, double peg, 3, 2, 1. Getting technical, putting a lucky stall in the middle, wrapping that lip trick up with a foot jam. So Wallace getting through run number 2, having a few technical difficulties, but if a rider winds up touching down and they can keep it rolling to the final moments, that is a lot better than falling down. Wow, I gotta tell you, things are heating up. We have 2 riders yet to go, but now we are looking at Ben Wallace's 360 turn down, straight into that downside tail whip. And you can hear the crowd right now to a blistering, loud applause for Colton Walker, our second to last rider coming in. Backflip bar spin, that is how you turn it up. He threw the single backflip in his first run, but right now Walker, 360 double bar spin, downside tail whip. He's another rider that said, you know what, Jose Gilles at 93, I gotta be near perfection out here. And right now, Colton Walker is doing just that as he fires back wall after wall after wall at the bar spin flare. Walker with 15 seconds. These are going to be make or break because the beginning of his run has been near flawless. Walker, if he can keep that momentum, he's up for a solid score. And he is going to wind up waving it off with 8 seconds left on the clock. The question for our judges is really going to be, Ryan, is those final seconds enough to negatively impact the score? Because he had a lot of action-packed variety in his second run. Again, he turned it up a few notches with that bar spin on the backflip. But right now, the energy is about to go through the roof.
A man who has turned up the volume knob for every event that he's been in. He qualified first out here. He's coming off the FISE World Series 2016 title win. He's qualified first here, and he had a run of his life last time. Let's see what Logan Martin has for his second run here in the Spine Finals.
Logan knows he needs perfection. Jose Gil Torres has a 93. Right now, Logan is not resting on his laurels. He wants to be on top of that podium again. He is a true competitor, and now he has the advantage of riding last, saying, I've got to turn things up. And there was a flat spin 540 flare bar spin into an opposite flare coming back at us with the double tire ride as the clock is winding down.
Double bar spin over the spine, back way, and here it's going to go into a bit more technical. Downside double tail whip coming up on the coping. He might be calling it. He is calling it. He thinks, okay, that's enough. FISE, did you like it? I had a fun time showing you what I got out here. It's an overall impression, like you said, Daryl. So that was his 2 runs for the judges, and I think that volume was at perfect level.
Wow, by the crowd's reaction, they are definitely loving the Logan Martin show. But now it is going to be in the judges' hands. Again, there are 2 separate competitions. We still have our best trick comp yet to go. As we look at some of the highlights, there's that flare bar spin, straight into an opposite direction flare, kicking that tail whip right over the spine. Listen to the crowd out here as we get ready to have our 4 riders for our best trick. We are just taking in the energy as this barn burner party celebration is in full swing at our spine final.
Take a look at that crowd. Make sure if you have never came out to this event that you mark it off your calendar. Have you ever seen an audience that size at an action sports event, at a BMX event, at any single sporting event apart from the mainstream? I do not think so. This is one of a kind. The FISE has been building this crowd and entering the action sports into the DNA of Montpellier for the last 20 years. This is where we celebrate our sports in all its glory together, one by one, in unison. Brandon Lupos is about to drop in to see if he can do a best trick here today.
So Lupos setting up. This is a separate competition from our park. It is a best trick as Lupos gets ready to let it rip. Wow, flare double tail whip from the Australian, saying, what up now, Montpellier? And by the reaction of our crowd, they are saying, we love it, Brandon Lupos. That is how you get it done. One swing in the ring, you want to make that connection and get that knockout. Taking a look one more time at this flare double tail whip. 1, 2 times around, putting that right foot on the pedal, slipping his left one a little bit, but rolling away. And I think Lupos is going to say, you know what? Maybe not. I stand corrected. He is coming back for more, Ryan.
I'm very curious what he's going to try and do more here. 1, 2.
He might be looking to stomp it clean out there. He's going to call it. It looks like he might have rolled his ankle. Listen to that love and appreciation for Brandon Lupos. Unfortunately, hurting his left foot. We have some of the best medics out there.
I do wish Lupos all the best out there. He happened to make a finish in our semifinals for 5th. Oh!
So you could see that left ankle right there rolling. His first attempt, he got his right foot on the pedal. His left foot didn't touch. His second attempt, both feet did not make it to the pedal. Unfortunately, his left foot rolling around. But we still have 3 riders yet to go. We're talking about Ben Wallace, Colton Walker, and Logan Martin.
3 riders who definitely can deliver some best tricks. So I'm very interested to see what that will be.
So Big Ben Wallace just won the best trick at our Vans competition in Malaga, Spain. So he's got what it takes. Ooh. What?
Whoa! Whoa!
Oh, so close right there.
Okay, let's break that down. 270 to Smith stall. Hard 270 back into fakey whip. I think, if my memory is doing justice.
Ben, I'm giving you a standing ovation over here. The fact that you went for that crazy combination, linking it together, and then went to put the cherry on top of the sundae with that tail whip. The crowd loving Ben Wallace, Ryan and myself loving Ben Wallace, and I know everybody at home right now is cheering on Ben as he goes.
Oh yeah, sorry, It was that's what I thought. It was a 270 tail whip to Smith stall. Just insane difficulty. That sub box is 1.5 meters higher than the coping. That's shoulder height for most people.
Come on, Ben Wallace. We are trying to channel all of this energy. As I mentioned, recently a father. His riding has been better than ever. Wallace is an X Games medalist. He's no stranger to competition. And right now, he is looking to bring another best trick title under his belt. As I mentioned a few weeks ago in Spain, he won best trick with an enormous flare transfer at a Vans contest. But right now in Montpellier, he is looking to set a big tail whip 270. Oh! Going for that Smith stall, but his front peg missing the sub box. I got to give Ben Wallace some props. He could have really just punked out and said, I'm not going to do that final tail whip. I got some crazy combinations. I got that revert done. And he went for the tail whip on that fakie. Full commitment. Shows you how dedicated of a rider Ben is.
One more.
Yeah, we do.
This is Montpellier. This is just going to be for the crowd, mind you. And that's what the riders love to do, put on a show for this incredible audience out there.
Wallace, you can take as many tries as you want with this combination, but right now is going to be all that you need as you come in. Hot to trot, 270 tail whip, looking for that Smith. Ryan, I am hoping that Ben just takes as much time as he wants. There's no way he's walking off this ramp right now. Look at the support.
I'm just waiting to hear the audience as the French announcers really ask them, come on, do you want to see one more? Do you want to see one more out of Ben? The answer is clearly yes.
Ben Wallace getting the fakie.
Oh, but he can take it. I would take that one. I would take it.
I would as well. Ben Wallace, tail whip 270 Smith stall, getting that 180 revert back into the transition off that enormous sub box, getting the full rollout going all the way back, very clean might we add, and getting the love and support from all of the fans and all of our riders around the world. I gotta say, I'm so impressed with Ben Wallace's riding in 2017, and right there, stepping it up a few notches. So as we progress, we have two riders yet to partake in our best trick competition. That is Colton Walker and Logan Martin. Colton Walker, 2016 winner of the Nitro Circus box jump competition. So if you've got that title under your belt, that means you are an absolute lunatic. And Colton Walker, coming all the way from the United States, from Wisconsin, has a huge arsenal of tricks. What is it going to be, Ryan?
Oh, first try out of the gate, flare whip to bar spin.
Talk about the arsenal, pulling the trigger, lining up the sights, and smashing the target right there. Colton is psyched. There are a lot of nerves going into a best trick because you want to turn it up. It's based on how all the other riders are out there. And you got to roll the dice, and right now, Colton Walker getting a 4.56, tail whip, flare, bar spin. and hopefully he'll be taking the pot of money. But right now we're talking about Logan Martin, who we saw have 2 smashingly great runs. But he is another rider who's always at the top of the podium and brings his A game. Let's see what he's got, Ryan.
Oh, going bar spin to tail whip up onto the deck, probably looking for a foot jam. Logan has a very, very large arsenal of technical tricks as well.
And the fact that he's the last rider to go, again, that is an advantage point. You can kind of base it off what everyone else has done. That might change his approach. But right now it is bar spin, tail whip, foot jam. And you can see the commitment because he's landing close to the coping. His bike almost falling back in, even though his foot was not properly placed. When you're up on a sub box and you're doing a foot jam, you need to have your body weight very much leaning over and leaning in. Obviously, a rider can pogo their way closer, but Logan is one to have full commitment. And let's see, can he link it together? Landing a little flat, wants to get a better setup.
The difficulty of this trick is when you're going into the foot jam, like you said, Daryl, you have to have all your body weight over the front. The bar spin is over the back wheel, then the tail up as well. Very difficult to get that fully linked up with a balance point right on your tippy toes.
So that was 3 attempts out there, but again, this crowd is that of legend, and I don't know if they will possibly let Logan Martin walk away. Big backflip drop in.
And he's going to call it, I believe. That's going to be it for Logan Martin. He's put on enough of a show for tonight.
And having that enormous backflip drop in right there. Shout out to the late, great Dave Mira. First rider to ever flip off the sub box. And we see Logan paying a little bit of homage out there. Wow, what a final. But we are about to make some sense of the madness. We have 2 separate competitions. The top score, 3 riders were in the 90s. Jose Torres Gil had a 93 with the score to beat. The question is going to be Brandon Lupos, Ben Wallace, Colton Walker, or Logan Martin. Do they have what it takes to bump up the score?
Oh, and they do. Logan Martin is going to be your new leader and the champion here of the World Series, first of the BMX Spine Ramp Pro Finals. He has a 96 even, bumping out Jose Torres Gil from the 2nd place position. Daniel Dhers is going to be taking 3rd respectively with that 91, and then from our 4th heat, Colton Walker with that 90.6. Brandon Lupos as well, putting up claim into the 6th place position with the 89 even.
Wow, as we look at our next
Where is
8
Ben
riders,
Wallace
Big
gonna
Ben
go?
Wallace with an 82 in 9th place. Michael Braun, Mike Varga, Marc Webb, Pat Casey, Eric Rizev, Kevin Peraza, and Clint Miller rolling out the top right there. Holy smokes, what a final coming down to the line right there. Unbelievable. Logan Martin just coming in, absolutely crushing it right there.
As we said, Logan has been on fire and the volume level has been turned up. He is your 2016 FISE World Series BMX Park champion. He comes out of the gate. This is our first event. He qualifies first. He ends up in the semifinals first for BMX Park. Then he comes over here, had semifinals first for the mini ramp, and now he ends up first for the SFR Sport Spine Pro Finals. Let's take a look and see what it takes to come up on top. This is the highlight or his best run out on the spine.
So we're looking at the madness of our champion out here. 360 tail whip to bar spin, straight into a no-hander. The thing to highlight is a lot of height from our rider. 360 double downside tail whip. Double tail whip over the spine. Logan Martin on fire. We had Jose Torres Gil, who had a 93. Logan had the vantage point of being the last rider to go, knowing he had to turn it up when the pressure was on. And this is a run that exploded into a 96. One of the higher scores that we've ever seen here at FISE. Something to note, we had 6 riders that were in the 90s. That is something that is very uncharacteristic, and Logan Martin absolutely destroying runs 1 and 2 on the ramp. Taking a look at his second run, backflip, tail whip, bar spin at height. Logan out here, you just can really see this is a true athlete locked into the zone. It's almost as if he's in unison with the crowd out there, just milking each transition, pumping through all of his tricks, bar spin to no-hander, flare, bar spin. The thing to really note as well, he did not slow down. He kept that momentum, especially with that opposite flare, and really just utilizing the entire course. Double bar spin, kicking that double downside tail whip, and that is 2 winning runs from Logan Martin.
Absolutely amazing riding from the young Australian rider. So phenomenal that he's able to come out here, do double discipline, compete in the park, compete in the spine. Just beautiful riding from him. I am hoping that he can keep it up into tomorrow. He looks completely unfazed though. After that second run as well, he didn't even seem out of breath. He looks to be on the peak of his performance and at the peak of his riding ability. So much stuff coming on up here. We are in day number 4 currently, just about to wrap it up, but there is the 5th day still to come at the FISE here in Montpellier. What's happening tomorrow? Let's check out the schedule. We are going into the wakeboard. We have at 11 o'clock the Wakeboard Pro semifinals. Moving into the finals at 1:50. Right after that, BMX Flatland finals at 3:50. And none other than the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Cup finals at the end of the day. It is going to be the main event. Make sure you come back and join us here. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, the action is just heating up. We witnessed our first BMX final. Tomorrow is going to be explosive. I just really want to highlight, so impressed with Jose Torres-Gil's riding. Second place, also big up to Daniel Dhers. But right now, we're talking about the history of FISE. This is our 21st edition, our 20th anniversary, and we have all of the action captured, bound beautifully in this book. FISE is a little bit more than just a contest. It's a lifestyle. It's a lot of the athletes coming together, and there's a lot of history in the roots. This book beautifully captures some magic moments together. You can check this out online, FISE.fr. Pick yourself up a copy, or if you're in the house, you can get it as well.
Make sure you guys as well tune into our social media. You'll get a lot of intuitive coverage, stuff that you do not just see here on the shows or on TV. As well, you can follow myself, Ryan Meyer, or Daryl Now. You know his handles, but check out the ones in the bottom left of your screen. That's where you find FISE.official on Facebook. As well, we have the Facebook live streaming, so that's a ton of different coverage for all the events happening in-house here. Instagram and Twitter, it's going to be at FISE World. As well, make sure you check out the handle on the Snapchat. It's FISE World Series. Make sure you hashtag all your posts FISE World, and for here, Montpellier edition, FISE 20 for the 20th anniversary of FISE. Go check out that history book if you haven't. It is a beautiful publication, something amazing to have for any creative, any event enthusiast, something to see how you can really root an event into someone's DNA, and that is what we did here in Montpellier. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing to have. Check it out. It's an amazing book.
Well, Ryan, I just want to thank all of our fans from around the world watching a legendary BMX Spine final going down, but you can make your way down here tomorrow for our events if you're anywhere in the event or in the arena, but you also can check us out when we're in Canada, when we're in Hungary or China for our finals. The FISE is open to everybody, whether you're an amateur, professional, or you're just looking down to come and party. We got action sports coming your way.
So make sure you do those things, but anyhow, thank you very much on behalf of myself, Ryan Meyer, and Daryl Now. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing to you the best action sports on the amateur level and professional. Stay tuned tomorrow, and we'll show you more of the best action here at the FISE.